Hey, honeys, welcome back to the podcast here. I'm your host, a question mark of a person, Heather Donovan. So maybe about a couple weeks ago now, I've changed my podcast artwork. I don't know about you, but I am so in love with it. Like, I was screaming inside after, I put the lettering on it and everything. I just love it so much. So the context behind the artwork is that the picture was one of my 2 dance resale pictures I've had done at my dance studio. The picture and costume was for one of the 2 solo dances that I've done this year for competitions. This dance was a lyrical/contemporary piece, and the song was called Dancing with the Devil by Demi Lovato. I did this song as a piece for my eating disorder and overcoming it, when I really should have honestly died from it. And it's not even just me saying that, it's all the doctors that have viewed my health history and my eating disorder history and them saying it as well. The lyrics almost made to heaven, it was closer than you know, really resonates with me because I did nearly end up dying from the disorder. But I've made to heaven? Who knows? Maybe. I know that the song is about her own near-death overdose with drugs. However, my eating disorder was like a drug that I nearly died from. That's a whole nother story for a whole nother day though. Anyways, that's the context behind the picture. And before anyone asks, no, I didn't choreograph the dance, nor would I ever take the credit for doing so. My current dance teacher choreographed it. I am a 29-year-old dancer going on my 17th year of dance. I get questions asking me all the time about why I still dance as an adult at my age. I have so many different answers to these questions. I'll just kind of list them off for you. First off, it's great exercise, and going to dance class is really not too much different than going to work out at a gym or going to exercise classes. It socially gets you out of your home environment, and in my case, especially with my own family situation, this is a real sanity saver for me, to say the very least. To say the very least. I almost want to say the very most, but you know what I mean. And one of my biggest reasoning is on a therapeutic level. When I was going through a lot of vicious bullying through my all my school years, all the 13 years I went to school, my eating disorder, anxiety, depression, and thoughts of giving up on life, dance was just and has always been there for me through the ups and downs. Dance made me very happy and got me through some very, very rough times and took me to better places. It still does that for me today. There is actually this documentary out there where these girls talk about how dance had helped them in their own personal lives. I don't remember the name of it because this was years, maybe 5 years ago I saw this or something. I think that was called Untaped, Untapped, or something like that. I don't remember. All I remember is that I was really mad because I only got to see clips of it online, but I could never find the whole entire thing online. And that's where it was located, and that really made me mad. That's really all I remember about it. The point is that I really dance just for me, and only me. It gives me something else to focus on and to do when it seems like the whole entire world is collapsing all around me. Dance is not cheap by all means, and any parent or other person paying for dance can tell you this. With the shoes, the costumes, the tights, the practices, driving back and forth, you name it. It's not cheap. But honestly, what is nowadays though? You can't even go for a drive down the road anymore without spending at least $20 in gas. I mean, money can get you a heck of a lot. However, what do you really have to look forward to in life if you aren't happy and doing things that you enjoy in life? Also, I believe that you really can't take it with you in the afterlife. I mean, it'd be cool if you did, but I have heard nothing where you can, so might as well use it while you're alive and enjoy it. We only live this one time that we all know for sure, and it's the here and now. Now allow me to tell you a little bit about my dance history. I remember dancing around by myself in my little bedroom when I was a little kid, and I even choreographed some dances from an old show called Dragon Tales. I have no idea if you guys, the younger generation, know what that show is. It was a really, really cool show, and you guys are really missing out if you don't know what it is. I really dig that Org, that Cassie. Who else was there? Zach, Wheezy. I thought that the kids Emily and Max were little brats, though. So, that was just me. Anyways, My mom tried enrolling me in dance classes when I was 9 years old in 10th grade. Just kidding. Second grade. Yeah, 9 years old in 10th grade. Like, I'm a genius like young Sheldon. Okay, sure. Didn't go well, and looking back, I can tell you why. With all the bullying happening since I was in kindergarten, and being in a whole new environment, that made me very afraid because I always just was a homebody when I was a kid and didn't really go many places. I didn't have any friends to go to any houses to. I mean, I had a few family friends and stuff, but not really anything. It just freaked me out, and I didn't want to go back at all. Apparently, I cried not to go back, but that just doesn't sound right. I think my mom is just telling me that story, but anyway. Then flashing forward to when I was 14 years old, I was in Girl Scouts. Well, I wanted to quit, while in my high school years, but my mom wouldn't let me. But that's a whole other story. But anyway, as a part of our silver award that we were working on, I believe it was our silver award. It could have been our bronze. We did achieve it. Well, we achieved the silver too, but I think it was a silver. It was a silver award requirement. It doesn't really matter. But for Girl Scouts, part of the requirement was that we had to volunteer to be a junior counselor for a Girl Scout camp for a week during the summer. And they were different themes. One was the Olympic theme, one was a movie theme, one was, a spa theme, and blah, blah, blah. The week that I ended up signing up for was a Showtime theme week or something along those lines, Star theme, I don't know, something like that. But 2 of these days had dance classes in them, and I participated with the kids, and I loved it. And then I signed up for dance at a local dance studio that September, and I have been dancing ever since then. I have danced at 6 different dance studios throughout my entire dance career. I will get to that later. I have been in a total of 17 dance recitals, 2 of which I did in 1 year for 2 different studios that I participated in at the same time. And we did not have one in 2020, obviously, because, COVID year. COVID took everything away from everybody. I have done ballet, pointe, lyrical, contemporary, jazz, tap, musical theater, hip-hop, and both hard and soft Irish. So, let me just clarify, no, I am not a studio hopper, as one from Dance Mom might call somebody who jumps around studios. The first and main studio that I was from the beginning, and funny enough, that was the one my mom tried to get me into, the first time around, when I was in 2nd grade. I danced for 14 years. So I was with this first studio for a very long time, to say the least. Honestly, the studio was good in the beginning, and things just changed as years went on before there was a big falling out between myself and the studio owner/teacher. I think part of the problem was that I was seeing and knew too much, and she didn't like it at all. So, anyway, while I was still with the studio for all these 14 years, though, I still took dance classes from other dance studios in the area because I wanted to learn to dance and really improve my techniques and stuff. I mean, I still didn't get very good technique. I mean, my current dance teacher could tell you that. She had a lot of fixing to do. But I could save that for a story for her maybe sometime. One summer I took ballet classes at another dance studio for a few weeks in the summer so that I could take pointe classes. Then I was at 2 studios at the same time in the same town for about a year and a half. This was mostly because 2 of my best friends at the time really wanted me to come dance with them at their studio. They caught me into it because they told me that they were doing my favorite song at the time, which was Airplanes by B.O.B. for their lyrical dance, and that they were getting a pretty light blue costume for it, which light blue is my favorite color. Little did I know, though, the costume thing was a lie. She hadn't even picked out any costumes yet for any of the dances, seeing that it was September. The song became ruined for me too, to the point where I couldn't even listen to it until the end of last year, or it's the end of 2022. That's how bad it was. That teacher and studio owner was very mean to me, and I wasn't even close to a favor, so that made things even worse. The things that she would do to me is that she would just treat me like I was stupid, and I generally, if I generally didn't understand something, she would just get really mad and frustrated. And then when she got really mad and frustrated, she would just turn around and start praying, praying for forgiveness and all this BS. And she just wasn't great at all towards me. She was probably great towards other people and kids, just not towards me. And here's the thing too about me. I hardly ever cry. And when I do, there's a problem. That either means that, like, I'm really, really upset or really, really mad. And it's been like this for as long as I can remember. She was really singling me out one day to the point where I just broke down crying and called my mom to just come get me. She followed me out of the studio and started fighting with Mom out in the parking lot about taking me out of dance classes for the day. My mom looked at her dead in the eyes and told her, this kid never cries. If she's crying, then you have a problem and you need to go figure that out. The next week I went back to dance classes because I am not a quitter and despise what other people said, but we'll get to that in a second. I tried confiding in her this next week that I went back that another student, which was one of the best friends at the time that wanted me to go dance with her, that she prank called me that week and made some pretty horrible threats, like saying that she was going to kill my family, that I had to commit suicide, that they were going to chop my fingers off. And it was pretty bad. We had to get the cops involved and all that stuff. And they didn't even admit. Like, I gave them several chances to admit that they did the phone call. They didn't do it. And until, like, we said, oh, well, here's what happened. So, basically, you could do these caller ID block things, right? So, basically, it's like star 6, 7, I don't know. I don't remember what they used to do, or even if I still think, whatever. But they did it to me all throughout the night. And I was at another friend's house, and they just kept calling me and making all these threats and saying all these things. And my mom and I kept asking them if they know who did it several times, that we were going to get the cops. And then they didn't say anything until we said we were getting the cops involved, and that if they recover the number from the star 67, they have to press charges. That's out of our hands. They finally admitted it to us, and it just led to a whole bunch of problems. This other student, though, the quote-unquote best friend, was one of her favorites. So this teacher told me that I was lying and that I was a psycho bitch. I never went back to that studio after that week. I had students of her calling me a quitter in school and other activities after that happened. I bet you they didn't even know the story about what happened. But whatever. They weren't great people anyway, who was telling me I was a quitter. So, and they thought they were the best type of person in the world. You know, that type of person. Love that, don't you? And the funny thing was, too, I found this out after. This dance teacher went to school with my mom, and she actually bullied my mom. But my mom, being the great human being she was, she didn't tell me this because she knew how I really wanted to dance with my friends and really dance. So she didn't tell me any of this. And yeah, funny how the world goes round, right? Some people just never change. I also took a couple classes at my alma mater, my college alma mater, at Adirondack Community College. And then she invited me, the dance professor invited me to her own dance studio for summer classes. Now, about why I left the studio where I was at for 14 years. Well, the simple answer was that the business was more about the business and money for one thing, which, I mean, that's great. In some retrospects, I do get that. But, I mean, you do have to treat people like people at some point, not just like a money figure, and that's kind of what was happening. And I knew a lot of the inside background about, like, the studio and all the, like, the shady things going on in the background, and the studio owner didn't really like me knowing those things. And the studio owner just became a whole entire different person. And this is kind of what happened. Back in 2017, my family and I had a house fire, and our house was a total loss. Like, this was our childhood home. We've lived there forever. We never really went anywhere else. Everybody was okay. All the fur babies, everybody was okay. But it was just a total loss. So we had to move, we have another, what do you call it? We have another property that my grandmother inherited to us, and that was about another 10-20 minutes out of town, and then like another 10-20 minutes to my college, and so on and so forth, you name it. And I was going to SUNY Adirondack at the time, and I was getting back from school, like I was going in the mornings kind of, and then by the time I came strolling back through town to get ready for dance class. By the time I would go all the way back home, I'd be going home for 10 minutes, then coming all the way back to dance class. And that just didn't really make sense. So I was just hanging around downstairs, minding my own business, doing my own schoolwork, being quiet, all that stuff. And the dance teacher told me that was inappropriate, which I can't really understand why. It wasn't doing anything. It wasn't harming anything. She knew about the situation. I talked to her about it. If she was fine with it previously, But something just changed. She just became a different person throughout the years. And then I also found out that the owner was running her mouth about me and sending messages about me to other customers of hers that I was friends with. She also implied that I was something so despicable that I will not be repeating it on this podcast. But I can tell you that what she implied that I was way worse than being called a psycho bitch. And I know that I am not this person, so... And I am far beyond this person that she implied I was, but that was the breaking point for me. So for the last 2 years, going into 3 years now, I have been with a whole different studio. I attended a dance camp there that they were having that summer. I think it was this I'm trying to think of when it was, because I remember I finished the year after all that was said and done, because there was no other dance studios in the area. So, I mean, unless they wanted to go another 30 minutes out of my way or I don't know. It just wasn't going to work out. It was a dance studio I loved to dance, so I just had to stay. So, I attended this summer camp. I liked it. The dance owner and teacher, my current one now, was giving me more opportunities, as she offered me a spot on the competition team to try out, and I just learned a lot from her, more than the previous 14 years of dance in those 2 weeks. And it was a very difficult choice to leave a studio that I was with for 14 years. But it was worth it, even though it was scary. And one of the best decisions I've ever made. I've learned a lot and keep learning to do better with my technique and how to try to do better with my facial expressions while dancing. And I've also learned what stretching was before you start dance class. You know how you're supposed to start stretching, or you stretch before dance classes? I never did that at my old studio. Not even the other studio where I was called a psycho bitch. So my dance teacher was just dumbfounded when she heard that. She's dumbfounded by a lot of things that I've told her. I've been on a competition team for 2 years now. I've had more opportunities to take more genres of dance than I have at my old studio and any other studios put together that I've attended. I have won 2 first places this year in the adult categories and a 3rd place in another. I've also won a passion award too. So I have a story to tell you. So actually I got a couple of them. So I didn't get injured before I came to this dance studio. The first year dancing with my studio that I'm with now, we were doing our pirouettes, practicing them, and I lost my balance and went off my feet, and it went to strain my arm, to try to stop me from falling. Didn't end up well. I ended up cracking the rotator in my elbow, and I almost had to wear a splint for my dance recital that year. This was 2 weeks before recital, and then the day before the recital, doctor told me I could take it off. And coincidentally too, this is keynote for later on. It was raining that day, and that'll be a important detail in a minute. So there was another injury this year at a competition. So I was practicing because for other competition teams, because I wanted to do better than them, and there was a motivation there, but anyway, so I danced. So the changing room we were in, it was a gym floor. It was you know how a high school gym floor is. It was that. And I was practicing it in my jazz shoes, and I was practicing straddle jumps with my dance teacher right there. Well, my foot went out right from underneath me, my right foot, and we all heard a crack, my other 2 dance team members and my dance teacher and I, because I went right down. And my dance teacher goes, "Are you okay?" I go, "I heard something crack." So we all kind of went into panic mode. I started passing out because I have something called postural orthotic tachycardia syndrome. And make a long story short, because I could get into this topic into a different episode. Basically, 2 things can happen. Your heart rate could go up by 30 beats per minute, from sitting to standing, or your blood pressure can either really rise up or plummet right down when you change positions from lying down to sitting or whatever. I have both of those. I did a tilt table test. My heartbeat went up to past the 30 beats per minute, rising. And then my blood pressure does both. Raises really high too quickly or bombs out really quickly. So, best of both worlds, honeys. So I passed out, I blacked out, and then I came back to when I go to my dance teacher, and she goes, and I wasn't even crying, nothing. I go, "So when am I dancing?" She goes, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, when can I dance?" She goes, "First off, let's see if you can actually stand on your ankle first." And I stood on it, I did some stuff. She goes, "All right, how about we ice it first, and then we'll talk a little bit, and we'll see if we can get you to dance later." So I did end up dancing on it. I actually didn't do too bad. I got third place overall in the adult category for my Dancing with the Devil routine. I would have won first, but that's a whole different story. I got the Passion Award because I still danced despite the injury. And it really didn't hurt until later on the day, well, nighttime, because I got injured around 10:30 in the morning. I didn't end up going to the emergency room till closer to 9 o'clock at night. And even then, my doctors were impressed that I still managed to dance and come in so late and all that stuff. And it was welled up like a balloon. It was all pretty colors. I ended up breaking the part of the foot where it could cause sprain in the ankle and cause like ligaments to get injured. So my chin was all pretty colors. And it had a major sprain in my ankle. So it was a great time. Ended up leaving a big splint. My sister's fiance had to end up coming to get me. It was lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. But no regrets here. I mean, it makes for a good story, right? And also, the funny part is, I was telling the nurse and I were talking about all this, too, when the night it happened. She goes, "You're a bit of a klutz, aren't you?" Laugh out loud. Also, back in 2022 of July, I got number 3 in the top 3 of the adult category, and I competed with one other dancer in the category, and the rest were all singers, and there were 7 other singers at nationals. And I also won the top 10 most valuable competitor award as well at nationals. And basically, it's like it's a judges voted award, and they vote on who had the best attitude, who they liked the best, and da-da-da-da-da. It was a few different variables, but I got that. My favorite styles of dance are jazz, musical, theater, and lyrical. My least favorite are tap and hip-hop. I've asked my dance teacher one day out of curiosity what styles are my strongest and which ones are my weakest, because I was curious. She said that my strongest styles are jazz, musical, theater, and surprisingly to me, hip-hop. I just don't really care for hip-hop. It's just not for me. I just never really cared for it. Even when I was taking the fake knockoff versions that my old studios were offering, I didn't care for that either, because it was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like a lower jazz, kind of, that my old studios did. Anyway, she said my weakest ones are tap. Honestly, I can understand that. I couldn't even make noises when I started taking tap classes at our studio. And she looked at me like, "How's this possible?" I go, "My old dance teachers taught me that. As long as the moves look good, you don't have to make noises." And then she said my other weakest one was lyrical. Lyrical only because of the sloppy and lack of technique that I was taught for all 14 years of my dancing career. Maybe someday she'll come on the pod, my current teacher, and we can dig more into this detail and how much fixing of technique she had to do with me and all that good stuff. Maybe. Well, we'll see. And that's the blast of the past and why I dance. It's great for the soul, and even though my body disagrees with that statement, because I mean, I've had the several different injuries and my POTS diagnosis as well. So, back when I was a baby, I was about 2 years old, my aunt was carrying me down my other aunt's pool stairs, and they were it was like a slippery pole dock type of thing, pressure treated wood or something like that. She slipped and fell and down the stairs, and long story short, I ended up between her 200-poundish self at the time and a picnic table. So, and my whole entire pelvis got, oh my gosh, completely, I'm trying to think of the word. My God, what's the word? So my whole entire pelvis became shattered, and my doctors had to glue it back together. They were convinced that nothing happened to me because babies are so pliable. According to them, no. The pelvis was shattered. So now I have some minor, what do you call it? I'm trying to think of what it's called. Oh, mild arthritis from it. And some pelvic issues, but it's fine. And I have some muscle issues in my hips that have become a thing. They started in 2021. I should really go in an MRI machine to see what's going on with it, but claustrophobia here. So I'm gonna save that one for rainy day. So it's great. So my hip doesn't agree with it. I had a factory injury back in 2020. Where I should have known that it was gonna be a crappy year, because I remember that day of injury, month for my birthday, February 27th of 2020. And make this story short too. I was working at a factory at the time, cleaning off airplane parts, and it was basically I dusted the polish off the, the machine airplane parts. Then sent it to the next place to either get oiled or to get checked to go get shipped. And I was working with an unguarded machine. The machine pulled my nitrile glove in, and then I got pulled into the machine, sucked in. It yanked me down and then pulled me into the machine, and I got whiplash to a car accident, and I've just been messed up since then. And My body's just a mess, but the pain just goes away when I dance. And I know it seems dumb to say this, but I do feel it after. I'm not gonna lie, I do. But it just feels so good to dance, and I think because it's so therapeutic, and I just get through it. I am mindful though when I do have like my POTS episode or something, like where I start feeling like I'm getting vertigo or I'm getting weak or dizzy and all that stuff. But I mean, I get through it best I can because dance just keeps me happy and sane. What can I say? So, I'm going to need you guys to do something for me. I'm going to need you guys to rate, review, subscribe, and tell your favorite neighbor about this podcast. And you never know, maybe someday I'm going to have a special episode that comes out that nobody's going to know about. I'm just going to drop it. And if you subscribe, it's going to be downloaded right to the place where you listen to your podcast. So you're going to be one of the first to know when this next special podcast comes out. And you'll be ahead of the game. Then you can tell your stranger friend about the podcast and they can subscribe and everything else. You can follow and converse with the podcast and other listeners to the podcast on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at Life Has a Question Mark. You can also follow my personal TikTok and Instagram account at Miss D's World 2022. There's a link tree located in the bios and all the socials I've just listed above, so you can find everything easier. You can check out the podcast website located in the link tree as well. You can also support the podcast by either donating to our PayPal, by clicking the link that is in every episode's show notes, by subscribing to the website, or by clicking the payment button in the link tree that takes you to our Venmo. All proceeds go directly towards our podcast to help it grow, become the best it can be. If you make a donation, you'll get a special shout out during the episode, or maybe you want to give someone else a message during the episode. Either way, I'll be doing something special for everyone who donates, no matter what it is. It'll be specifically for you who donates. Please make sure, though, that you are donating through family and friends only, though. I hope you guys have enjoyed this very laid-back episode, but don't worry, the next episode or two is going to get really intense. So look forward to that, and I'll talk to you guys next week. And remember to do things that makes you happy, and continue to do so for your lifetime.